There is a reason you cannot simply open Netflix and watch the World Cup. There is a reason Apple's billion-dollar sports budget cannot buy it. There is a reason YouTube's NFL Sunday Ticket model has not extended to it. The World Cup is streamable, but only through the companies that bought the territory you live in. FIFA does not sell one global broadcast product. FIFA divides the world into territories and auctions exclusive rights to each one. In the 2019-2022 cycle, those television broadcasting rights generated $3.4 billion for FIFA, the largest single line item in the FIFA portfolio. In the United States, English-language coverage for 2026 belongs to Fox. Spanish-language coverage belongs to Telemundo. In the United Kingdom, the rights are shared between the BBC and ITV. In MENA, the rights belong to BN. The Cartel is not a technical failure of streaming. It is a deliberate distribution arrangement, structured so that the largest sporting event on Earth reaches viewers through narrow, pre-licensed channels chosen by FIFA's auction. The streaming services that disrupted everything else cannot disrupt this. The mechanism is called Territorial exclusive licensing, and it is the most durable distribution structure in global media. The fundamental structure of World Cup broadcast distribution is territorial exclusivity. FIFA does not sell broadcast rights to a single global buyer. FIFA does not auction match-by-match streaming rights to whoever bids highest. FIFA does not allow direct-to-consumer distribution. Instead, FIFA divides the global broadcast market into territories, typically defined by country or language area, and auctions the exclusive right to broadcast all World Cup matches within that territory to a single winning bidder. The winning bidder receives a guarantee. For the duration of the contract, no other entity can legally broadcast a World Cup match in that territory. Not a competing television network, not a streaming service, not a YouTube channel. The exclusivity is absolute and enforced through copyright law. For the 2026 cycle, the United States English-language rights were sold to Fox Sports. The US Spanish-language rights were sold to Telemundo, owned by NBC Universal. The United Kingdom rights were sold jointly to BBC and ITV. The Middle East and North Africa rights were sold to beIN Sports, Brazil to Globo, Mexico to Televisa. The European Broadcasting Union purchased a multi-country bundle for several European nations. Approximately 20 buyers, globally, hold the entire World Cup broadcast inventory between them. There is no other legal way to watch the World Cup. Every other distribution channel is a violation of the exclusivity arrangement that FIFA has sold. The natural question, given the streaming revolution that has transformed every other category of video distribution, is, why has Netflix not won the World Cup rights? Why has Amazon Prime not? Why has Apple TV Plus not, despite their billion-dollar MLS deal? The answer reveals the structural feature of how FIFA's broadcast contracts are written. Streaming as a delivery technology does exist for the 2026 World Cup. Fox will stream English-language matches through the Fox Sports app. Telemundo will stream all 104 matches through Peacock and the Telemundo app. FIFA has also announced selected matches on official partner platforms. The streaming pipes exist. What does not exist is consumer choice in streaming providers. FIFA's territorial exclusive licenses are sold to broadcasters who can guarantee three specific things. The first guarantee is universal accessibility within the territory. A buyer must demonstrate that ordinary citizens in the territory can access the broadcasts without subscription barriers that exclude lower-income viewers. Free-to-air broadcasters in Europe like the BBC and ITV satisfy this requirement automatically. Cable networks like Fox satisfy it through high penetration rates and their existing app distribution. Streaming native services without an existing free-to-air or basic cable footprint have a harder regulatory case. The second guarantee is compliance with national broadcasting laws. Many countries have sporting events of national interest, designations that legally require certain broadcasts to be available on free-to-air television. The World Cup is on this designated list in most major markets. A buyer that cannot satisfy free-to-air requirements is structurally limited in those territories. The third guarantee is production infrastructure. Live sports broadcasting requires camera operators, on-site producers, commentary teams, archive integration, and graphics packages. FIFA's contracts include specific production quality requirements that favor incumbent broadcasters with decades of refined infrastructure. These three requirements, universal access, regulatory compliance, production infrastructure, together explain why the legacy broadcaster structure persists. Streaming services can build the technology. They cannot easily satisfy what the contract demands. So Apple, Netflix, and YouTube watch from the outside, while Fox, Telemundo, BBC, and beIN distribute the matches through their own streaming apps. The streaming exists. The choice does not. The $3.4 billion FIFA collected from broadcasting rights in the 2019-2022 cycle is the price the broadcasters paid to FIFA. That is not the price the consumer pays. The broadcasters pass on their licensing costs to consumers through three layers of commercial monetization. The first layer is advertising. A Fox Sports broadcast of a World Cup match sells advertising inventory at rates several multiples higher than standard regular season football broadcasts. Industry estimates of the 2022 Qatar tournament's U.S. advertising revenue across Fox and Telemundo combined have been reported in the range of $200 million or higher. That is consumer paid in the indirect sense. Every product you buy that advertised during a World Cup match has an embedded portion of that advertising cost in its retail price. The second layer is subscription. Cable subscribers pay monthly fees that subsidize Fox Sports' broadcast operations, regardless of whether they watch the World Cup specifically. A cord cutter who refuses to subscribe to cable is structurally cut off from the World Cup, unless they access matches through Fox's own streaming app, Peacock for Telemundo's Spanish-language coverage, or a sports-focused streaming bundle that is paid to sub-license the broadcaster's coverage. The third layer is direct purchase. FIFA Plus, FIFA's own streaming platform, offers limited match access and ancillary content in some territories, structured so as not to compete directly with the territorial broadcaster's exclusive rights. The cumulative consumer side spend on World Cup access in the United States, across advertising pass-through, cable subscriptions, and direct streaming purchases, is meaningfully larger than what FIFA collects from the broadcaster. The broadcaster's margin on the World Cup is one of the highest margin assets in sports television. The specific situation in the United States, that the entire tournament is available primarily through Fox Sports for English-language broadcasts and Telemundo for Spanish-language broadcasts, exists because of how FIFA structures its U.S. auctions. The U.S. is treated as two separate broadcast territories rather than one. The English-language territory is auctioned separately from the Spanish-language territory. This structure is unique among major broadcast markets because the U.S. has the largest bilingual television audience in the world. Tens of millions of Americans consume Spanish-language television regularly, and Telemundo's parent company, NBC Universal, has historically valued World Cup access at premium rates because of the cultural importance of the tournament in Hispanic-American communities. Fox Sports holds the U.S. English-language rights for the 2026 World Cup, granted in 2015 as an extension to the original 2011 deal that covered the 2018 and 2022 tournaments. Recent reporting from the New York Times in 2026 documents that Fox is paying less than $500 million for the 2026 rights specifically, substantially below the $1 to $1.5 billion industry analysts say the rights would command in an open auction. The discount is a structural feature of how the deal was renegotiated after the 2022 Qatar scheduling change, when FIFA moved the tournament to winter and disrupted Fox's anticipated summer broadcast window. Telemundo holds the Spanish-language rights, with both networks committing substantial additional investment to 2026 coverage. Fox planning 70 matches on its flagship network and 34 on FS1, with all UN4 matches streaming on the Fox One and Fox Sports apps. The combined U.S. broadcast investment is in the hundreds of millions of dollars across both languages. The two-network outcome is not anti-competitive. It is the result of FIFA selling the same matches in the same country, in two different languages, to two different bidders. The consumer outcome is constrained. If you speak English in the United States, you watch via Fox. If you speak Spanish, you watch via Telemundo. If you want both broadcasts, you subscribe to both services. There is no third option. The auction structure produced the two-network outcome by design, and in Fox's case, by an unusually favorable historical accident. FIFA launched FIFA Plus in 2022 as its own free streaming platform, offering archive content, behind-the-scenes material, and selected live matches from FIFA tournaments other than the World Cup. The structural limitation of FIFA Plus is significant. It cannot broadcast live World Cup matches in territories where another broadcaster holds exclusive rights. This is not a technical limitation. FIFA could provide live matches via FIFA Plus if it chose to. It is a contractual limitation that FIFA imposed on itself when selling the territorial exclusives. The reason territorial exclusive licenses would not have commanded the $3+ billion prices they did if buyers had to compete with FIFA's own free distribution platform. The contracts explicitly prevent FIFA from competing with its own licensees. The FIFA platform exists, accumulates user data, builds an authenticated FIFA account ecosystem, and offers selective live content. But it deliberately does not undercut the broadcast cartel during the World Cup window. The strategic logic is clear from FIFA's perspective. Selling territorial exclusivity at premium prices generates the largest single revenue line in the FIFA portfolio. Competing with that distribution through FIFA Plus would damage the next cycle's broadcast auction. FIFA Plus is therefore positioned as a complementary platform, growing its audience between World Cup tournaments, then deliberately stepping back during the World Cup itself to preserve the broadcaster relationships that fund the entire system. Two structural forces may pressure the broadcast cartel as it currently exists. The first force is regulatory. Competition authorities in the European Union and parallel scrutiny in the United States have shown increasing interest in exclusive content licensing arrangements that limit consumer choice. The EU Digital Markets Act focuses primarily on gatekeeper platforms and is not directly aimed at sports territorial licensing. But the broader regulatory mood around exclusive distribution arrangements has shifted. Whether this regulatory pressure ultimately reaches FIFA's territorial structure is an open question. There is no public evidence that FIFA has abandoned territorial exclusivity, or that any regulator has issued direct findings against the broadcast model. The second force is technical. Streaming native sports broadcasting has matured substantially since the 2018 cycle. Apple's MLS deal demonstrated that streaming services can deliver live sports broadcasts at quality levels equivalent to traditional broadcasters. YouTube's NFL Sunday Ticket arrangement proved that platform-native sports distribution can scale to mass audiences. The technical capability argument that streaming services cannot satisfy our requirements is weaker than it was a decade ago. The combined pressure of regulatory interest in exclusive licensing and technical parity from streaming native bidders means the 2030 negotiations will be tested differently than the 2026 ones were. The cartel may persist, it may evolve. What it almost certainly will not do is remain unchanged. What we have walked through is how the broadcast cartel currently operates. FIFA divides the world into territories. Approximately 20 broadcasters buy exclusive rights to those territories at a total cost of $3.4 billion per cycle. Streaming native competitors are not technically excluded. They are structurally disadvantaged by contract requirements that favor incumbents with existing universal access infrastructure. The cartel produces the specific consumer outcome that has become normal. Viewers in each country watch the World Cup through one or two pre-licensed channels chosen by FIFA's auction, accessing matches via the broadcaster's streaming app or linear feed, paying the broadcaster's monetization layers without realizing they have done so. The economic mechanism is rational from every party's perspective. FIFA collects the maximum revenue. Broadcasters collect the maximum margin. Consumers receive a broadcast they expect to receive. The only party whose interests are not directly represented in the negotiation is the consumer, who would prefer choice between streaming providers, lower cost, or different distribution models. That party will, eventually, be represented. by regulators if territorial exclusivity is found to be anti-competitive, or by streaming bidders large enough to satisfy FIFA's requirements and pay enough to break the incumbent structure. The 2026 tournament is one of the last cycles where the legacy model operates without serious challenge. By 2030, the question of who controls how you see the World Cup will likely be answered differently. Until then, you will watch the matches through the channels FIFA's auction created for your country at the price the system extracts. This is the broadcast cartel. It is legal. It is profitable. It narrows consumer choice by design. And the people who built it are already preparing for the cycle when that design begins to change. Subscribe for more of the economics behind the institutions and markets that shape everyday life.